Josh Green here, Tyson Fury with Callum Smith, newest member of the Sky Sports commentary team for this week or two in the Alexandra Palace. I mean, first question is, how have you found it here?
Really enjoying it. I'm absolutely loving it. Such a great team. I know it's different. I normally come up here as a fan. Been up here many times with brought my kids, and Johnny Nelson, Spencer Oliver and I sort of normally come up for a night or two. We've got to know a few of the players over the years. You know, Gary Anderson's a big boxing fan, Stephen Bunting, Justin Pipe, a few of them, and we sort of come up. And last year Spencer and I did a bit of fun commentary because I think they had the cricket team up and the football team, and we represented the boxing team. Obviously we sort of wrapped up with Anthony Joshua last week, and I said to the team, look, if you want a pair of hands, I'm here if you need anybody, and they kindly invited me up, and it's brilliant. You know, I'm the newbie. There's a fantastic sort of team spirit there. They're being absolutely wonderful to me. They're really nice. You know, Nigel and Pikey and Webby and all the boys and girls, and Laura's fantastic, Laura Turner, and it's terrific. It's been really nice, and Wayne Mardle's brilliant, John Part. They've all been so helpful, so friendly, and so full of advice. And yeah, I've just sort of rolled with it, and I'm really enjoying it.
So is most of your previous experience as a sort of in darts as a fan then?
Absolutely. I mean, I've watched it since I was a kid. I'm played, like I'm sure you have, bad darts over the years, and love it. And you know, there's always some sort of board, whether it's a big board or a little board, sort of knocking around the house. Or yeah, I loved it. I mean, back in the day with sort of Jockey Wilson, Eric Bristow, and John Lowe, and I've always loved it. And Phil Taylor was a huge sort of a bit of an idol of mine, really, and he used to come to the boxing as well. And you know, I just thought somebody who could just maintain that sort of consistency at the top of a sport was just phenomenal. And yeah, as I said, I've sort of got to know some of them over the years. You know, I've met sort of Adrian Lewis and Chizzy at some sort of charity dues and things, and so I love the sport. You know, I love all sports, really. You know, boxing's my business, and it's been obviously my number one for many years. But I'm a big sort of fan of other sports, and darts is one of those. And there's nothing quite like the Worlds. And although unfortunately we haven't got the fans this time, but you know, that's obviously, you know, what makes it so incredible on television, and such a, you know, a great sort of night out, afternoon out for people before Christmas. But obviously, you know, this year is totally different, and we've all got to make sure we're safe, and we adhere to all the rules and the regulations, which is absolutely paramount over this period. And you know, hope that we sort of get through it, and then, you know, this time next year we can have everybody back. And it's something special, Ali Pally. I think it's had 14 years here or something. I must have been up for certainly half of them at least, and yeah, I love it. So it's just really nice to be able to work and be part of the team, and it's a great team, and I'm just I feel very privileged to be part of it.
In the commentary capacity, are there any sort of transferable, not skills, but sort of in the skill set between boxing and darts that you've noticed over the last few days?
Yeah, I think there are. I mean, it's you know, it's a one-on-one sport. It's individual. You know, when they're up there, there's no one helping them. Just like, you know, two fighters in a ring, but like my love of tennis as well. Two players on a court. You know, you can have your agents, your managers, your trainers, everyone on the sort of outside, or you know, but ultimately it's down to, you know, two people up there. And yeah, I think there's a real connection there. You know, it's a mental and physical battle as well, and so I mean, it's a different pace, it's a different rhythm. Obviously, we don't know when a fight happens, when something's going to finish. You know, knockout in 2 rounds or a 12-round points decision. So, you know, there's different ways of commentating, I think. But yeah, and I've been sort of lucky enough to work with Rod Harrington, who's so experienced, you know, and Lloydie, you know, Colin Lloyd, and I've done a couple with Mark Webster, and some with Laura Turner, who I know is fairly new to it. She did last year as well, but you know, they're brilliant, and they really know their stuff. So I'm no expert like them. I'm a fan, really, but yeah, I try to do my research as best as I can. Obviously, we can't get to the players this time, which is difficult, but yeah, and I've had some sort of back and forth messages from sort of Devon Peterson and Glenn Durrant, and I actually found out that Glenn Durrant's one of his relatives, I think it's his brother-in-law, is Peter Richardson, who was one of the great amateur boxers when I first started commentating and became a pro. And actually, I think I met Glenn many years ago. So there's funny little things that come. And Justin Pipe and Stephen Bunting and Michael Smith I've met before. So I sort of feel that, you know, I look up to them. I mean, they're, you know, it's different. Boxing is, as I said, my business, and we get to know all the fighters over many years, and you know, the unpredictability of boxing. But you know, I just commentated on the Telnikers-Kenny matchup, and it's interesting because the two were both debutants and they're both sort of at the same level. And as I say, with boxing as well, even like the sort of I don't know, the foray into YouTube we've had that people are sort of funny about. Well, I think if you've got two players or two fighters or two people at the same sort of level, and you don't know who's going to win, I think that's always really exciting. And it's great to sort of be involved in that drama. I think it is different because you don't there's a business end of every leg and obviously every set, but it can't just finish dramatically like this right in the middle. And I think that's a difference to boxing. But I'm lucky enough to be working with really, really experienced and talented commentators and pundits, and it's fantastic. Crofty's here from the Formula One and doing a great job, Woodsy, and it's just a really lovely team. Georgie Faulkner and Rory Hopkins look after it, and it's great. And there's a few people I recognise from the boxing who've done both, and so I feel very at home now up at the Palace. And when I'm not here, I sort of miss it.
We know how hectic the boxing schedule's been over the last few weeks, but do you think we could see you in maybe more capacity in the darts events, maybe in a match play or a Grand Slam?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, that's up to the team and the bosses, and see what they want to do. I mean, I'm just here to help out. It's. I think that they felt that there's a lot of matches before Christmas, and it's a huge work schedule for everybody. And I think with the times we're on, with the pandemic we've got at the minute, that it's probably useful to have another pair of hands here. And I don't want to tread on anyone's toes. They're the experts, and they know what they're doing. And I'm having fun, but I'm really enjoying it. And I tried to take it serious. I say I'm having fun. I try to take it seriously, do some research, and obviously call it as best as we can. But they're all helping out, and I'm really enjoying it. So I don't think I'd say no to another shot at it or another tournament down the line.
Moving on to the boxing, Callum Smith last night. You managed to awaken yourself for that at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I
did. It was one of those that I thought I knew I'm up here today, but I just couldn't miss it. It was a massive fight, and obviously we followed Callum Smith from the word go, and I've been fortunate enough to spend quite a lot of time around Canelo and commentate on some of his big fights, and it was a fascinating one, wasn't it? Obviously, it was a huge task for Callum. Fairly short notice, and over there anyway are two disadvantages. But when you're going in against, arguably the pound for pound, or one of the very, very finest pound for pound fighters in the world and of a generation, then you're always going to be having to answer questions. And Callum was really brave last night. He did very well to get through it, and he fought as well. He didn't sort of back off. He tried what he could, but ultimately it was a very, very good world champion in with an elite fighter, and I think that was the difference in levels. And it's amazing looking back at Floyd Mayweather being the only one to beat Canelo, and how great Floyd was. And I've always thought that sort of Floyd was the best fighter we've had since Sugar Ray Leonard, and I think probably Canelo is one of the one or two best fighters we've had since the Mayweather days. So it's like it was always going to be tough for Callum. He's now a 4-division champion. Canelo, he's pretty special, isn't he? Because he just can find a way. When he knew he wasn't sort of being hurt early, he started to march Smith down, and I think that was really hard. He was throwing wonderful uppercuts and body shots, and it was a very good night's work from Canelo Alvarez, and a very brave effort from Callum Smith. Nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about at all. He went the distance with an absolute legend of the sport, and he wanted to test himself against the very best, and I'm sure he'll dust himself down. I've often said as well, Callum has been a light heavy and a super middleweight's body for a long time, and maybe that might have also not been to his advantage last night. But I think ultimately he lost to the better man, and I think all the Smith brothers they know boxing inside and out. Liam's obviously tasted the same thing, and I think that they're big enough and man enough to say that they just lost to the better guy. So it was a fantastic performance from Canelo. A wide points win, and I thought he looked as good as he's ever looked. And it's worrying about sort of who's going to be in the other corner next. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders needs a big fight, and I think he deserves it next. I think he might give Canelo one or two different things to think about with Billy's style, whether he's got the power to really knock Canelo back. It's a hard thing. Kovalev couldn't really manage it, so it'll be a tough ask if Billy Joe gets that shot. But he'll go with everybody's wishes, and he's got so much talent as well, Billy Joe. And if he has a fantastic build up to it, you never know. But it's a tough ask, and Then you got Gennady Golovkin, who came back the night before, and obviously he looked very good, not beating anyone, majorly, but he looked good in doing it. And people want to see Canelo and Golovkin have that third fight. So yeah, look, it just leaves us open with a huge year, 2021. Obviously we're hoping that Joshua and Fury can share a ring, but if you get Canelo and Golovkin, or Canelo and Billy Joe, I'm sure Callum will come back, and there's Chris Eubank to throw in that super middleweight mix. It's a wonderful year ahead for boxing, but obviously we've all got to wait and see when crowds come back, and hope they do. It was fantastic having 1,000 back for Joshua at Wembley. It felt more like 5,000, and I know they had a lot in Texas last night. Eddie told me it was an amazing atmosphere. So that's what we want. We want them back here at the darts. We want them back here in obviously at ringside and all around us, because it's not the same. But realistically, when's that going to be? Full stadiums. You're looking at a number of months, I think, and we just have to adhere to keep everyone healthy and happy as much as possible over this tough Christmas period, and get through the early part of 2021, and hoping that we come back to more of a normality. But I think it's great that the sport's gone on. We've had some fantastic fights, we've had some fantastic darts matches already, and it's good that we can still deliver that.
Something we're doing is we're looking at the year gone. It's been a fantastic year of boxing, been treated to some magnificent fights. Could we push you for a fight of the year? Well,
I mean, it'll be tough to sort of dismiss what happened out in Vegas at the beginning of the year. I was lucky enough to go out and see Tyson Fury, dismantle Deontay Wilder in what was one of the great performances. I think a lot of people were saying last night that if Callum Smith had pulled it off, it would have been one of the amazing wins on foreign soil. I think what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder, despite the fact that, remember, he was knocked down in the final round of their first fight and shouldn't never have really got up. And if you think about that as the lasting image of the first fight, a fight that I thought Fury won, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. People thought he might be able to outbox Wilder, but if it was by knockout, Wilder would win. So I think Tyson Fury had the performance of the year. Obviously, I'm going to say Anthony Joshua gave a wonderful performance again against Kubrat Pulev, and he showed us a lot of skills, and he got that dramatic knockout finish. But Kubrat Pulev was never favourite to win that fight, and I think it was much more even with Wilder and Fury. So I'd pick that out. I'd also pick a couple of others. I thought Joe Joyce's performance against Daniel Dubois as a performance was a great underdog win of the year. And I think coming back to our platform and Matchroom and Fight Camp, and the fights that we've had, you've got to look performance-wise as Savannah Marshall's wonderful world middleweight title win. I thought that was brilliant. And as a fight, I'll stay with the women, and you've got to look at both Katie Taylor and Delphine Bassoon's second fight, but probably topping that, Tasha Jonas and Terry Harper battling to that draw. So there's been some wonderful fights. Worldwide, we've had the upset of Vasyl Lomachenko with Teofimo Lopez. We've had Gervonta Davis, cork out an uppercut, which Lea Santa Cruz, one of my favourite fighters. I never thought I'd see him in a position like that. So there's been some fantastic performances, some great matches, some wonderful fights in a time where it's been really difficult with no gates. We've managed to put on 3 box office events, from the White Povetkin first fight, and what a stunner that was, to the second with Usyk and Chisora, and then AJ and Pulev in front of fans. So I'm really pleased at what Sky have managed to do. I'm also really pleased at what boxing's managed to do over on BT, at DAZN. The different promoters and broadcasters around the world have really sort of battled on and delivered some fantastic fights. And I think the most important thing is for the fighters and for the darts players here, that they've got the opportunity, they've had the opportunity, albeit in different surroundings, in bubbles, in Milton Keynes and Coventry, in places that they probably would have gone all around the world, etc. It's been very hard for both sports and all sports, but we've got Premier League rolling again, we've got great cricket, we've got Formula One finishing off. It's been, the golf majors have happened, it's been brilliant, and I think that's a credit to everyone in sport that they've managed to carry on in really difficult circumstances, and hats off to all the operation and the health and safety teams that have managed to make this happen for all the athletes, because for this year must have been almost, they thought it would be like a year that they would have to lose, but actually a lot of them have got back and they've kept going, and I think that's brilliant for them and their careers, and it's brilliant for the fans watching.
Just finally, I'm sure it'll be a magnificent year coming up in 2021. There's so many big matchups that could be made. Could we push you for a fight of the year that we could see in 2021?
It's got to be the big heavyweight blockbuster between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. I know, AJ didn't come out in that post-fight interview and say that he wants him desperately, but I do know that he does. I think that was probably a moment that he wanted to sort of savour being back in a ring and back with crowd. But I think he really wants to fight Tyson Fury, and I think he really wants to fight Fury next. And I know Tyson Fury wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He called me a couple of days ago, and just tell him to sign the contract. And he's, I think it's a fight that's got to happen. Whether it happens next depends on three things. It depends on the Wilder situation and the legalities. It depends on Usyk and the WBO, and it also depends, obviously, on the COVID pandemic and crowds. So whether it will happen in May, that's the idea. Will it happen in the Middle East in May or something like that, possibly? But I know if it's a two-fight deal, we want one of them in Britain. We'd love it at Wembley or at Tottenham Hotspur, I'm sure. And I know Anfield's pushing for a big fight, and as a Liverpool fan, I'd love to see something happen there, and I know they're really keen on it. But there's loads of venues that are possibilities, obviously. We just have to wait and see. But I think the two fighters want the fight. I think it's got to happen sooner rather than later. And I'll put my neck on the line and say I think it will happen at some point in 2021. So that's the fight for me, Fury Joshua. There's many others. We can go round and round and put loads of different fights together. And could Khan Brook finally, after many years and many disappointments, get together? There's all sorts of things that we could have. We're starting with Josh Kelly and Avanesian in the new year. We're going to have Josh Warrington back. There's Conor Benn. There's so many great things to look forward to. Women's boxing's at a height. We'd love to see Katie Taylor and Tasha Jonas. We'd love to see Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields. There's so much. But I think the fight that stops traffic, the fight that has everybody from any sport interested, is the fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, or Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Let's do it twice. Let's give the fans what they want and what they need, and let's find out who is the best heavyweight on earth.